All right, this is episode 17 of the Secret Squirrels. Welcome to our show. We have a couple of news stories there tonight that should be fairly interesting. We got some regulars of our Corsi Nation crew with us tonight. We got Army Wife, we got Bandit, and Jax. Everybody say hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Army Wife, what's new?
Not a whole lot, actually. The VA is now sending out emails like they're in a rush all of a sudden to get some of these burn pit service members who have been exposed to the burn pits into the database.
Yeah, we were going through that article. I thought we saw that New York Times actually had that like a year ago, right? That something came out in the New York Times, and is that what lit the fire under their butt to get things going?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. The VFW actually he came out within their last catalog last month that it's mailed out to us every month, and it was in there. So that's what helped get the fire lit underneath them. I'm not sure, and I just don't know where it took.
How's our road warrior doing? What's happening on the roads these days?
Life is good for the most part. Freight is moving across this great country at a rate that I haven't seen in years. And, you know, traffic's not too bad. I don't get cross country like I used to. I'm pretty local. But
You always got those trains that are giving you hassle.
Oh, those trains. If I could. Oh, boy. But you know what? We need those trains, too, because they have to move all the products across this country.
Oh, right. You get the trains do the major moving here and there, and then the trucks get it to more local things, right? So it's really good indication all the way around. If the truckers and the train drivers are pissing each other off, it's probably a good sign, right?
Absolutely, because then it means that, the busier we are, the busier this country is, the better this country's doing. Yep.
So, Jax, what's happening?
Not much.
Have you been looking at the keeping track of the cyber wars? What's happening in the cyber wars?
It's been quiet.
Really?
Yep. It's been a lot quieter than you would imagine, so I'm happy with that right now.
Does that mean that the bad guys have lost their computers?
I think that Cyber Command is doing a good job, is what I think. So I'm happy with.
What's that Nakasone guy, right?
No, I think it's a branch of our military that takes care of that.
So, right, but isn't that it's under the NSA charge, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Right, sorry.
Signal.
Yeah. So, but it seems to be it's the quietest. I am so glad that we've got a president that cares.
Yes.
Let's just say that.
So I have a couple of. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm done.
We got a Breitbart article says 5 techniques that Google will use to ensure MAGA is a hiccup in the history's arc. Got a picture of Trump and some Google. A recently leaked video of a Google all-hands TGIF meeting following the election of President Trump. Tech giant's leadership discussed plans to thwart President Trump's agenda. Here are some of the tools and techniques of the masters of the universe plan to utilize. So we got Google Jigsaw. During the leaked TGIF meeting, one of the projects discussed was Jigsaw, Alphabet's think tank department for social incubator. Initially branded Google Ideas in 2010, the project was renamed Jigsaw in 2016, when then Alphabet CEO Eric Schmidt explained that the new name reflects our belief that collaborative problem solving yields the best solutions, and that the team's mission is to use technology to tackle the toughest geopolitical challenges, from countering violent extremism to thwarting online censorship to mitigating the threats associated with digital attacks. So, you know, I mean, they see us as Russian bots, so there you go. Jigsaw. Filter bubbles, that's number 2.
Don't they realize that they're the minority?
Of course they do.
I mean, right now, they have the upper hand because they control media and they control Hollywood. And they thought they were going to control Washington, but we pulled the rug right out of them on that one.
Well, that's that group psychology thing, because like if everybody around you, if you believe everybody around you is voting one way, then you're going to tend to do that too, just so you belong. And so that
not me
manufactured.
Nope.
What do you call it? Like manufactured consent. It was at Noam Chomsky's thing, you know, like you create the situation where it looks like you'd be the outcast if you voted a certain way. And so, and that's what happened when Trump was first being elected. You know, it's like a lot of people didn't admit that they were Trump supporters, but they went into the voting booth and got him in. So,
sure, absolutely. My uncles were probably that way. I mean, I can't guarantee you that, but they've been Democrats all their lives. But I'm pretty sure towards the end there, they were all saying Trump. Absolutely. And by the way, groupthink. I am a unicorn in a field of donkeys. Just let you know. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have used unicorn and rainbows. And yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Rainbows and butterflies, man.
Yep.
Filter bubble is described by Technopedia as the intellectual isolation that can occur when websites use algorithms to selectively assume the information a user would want to see. And you think of that as, you know, when you're on Facebook and you like certain things, and the algorithm will cater what you see according to what you have liked previously. Sure. And so that's a filter bubble. So you only see the things that are going to reinforce your worldview as it already exists, and you don't really learn anything. So that's the filter bubbles. You see less and less posts from the people that you don't really like, unless you are engaging them. Then you end up having all sorts of anxiety problems, because every time you argue with somebody and you post on their a post that antagonizes you, then that algorithm is going to think that you want to interact with that, and it's going to give you more of that stuff that you don't like. So cause yourself all sorts of heartache by doing that. Number 3, fake news. Another way.
Wait. If they're going to do that, does that leave us open for grounds to sue them? I would just, it's just food for thought there.
Well, right. There already is talk about some kind of in that newer executive order about disinformation and stuff. That's possibly going to filter into this too. But another way that Google could affect the content that users see is through the marking of certain websites or articles as fake news. Dr. Robert Epstein, a senior research psychologist at the American Institute of Behavioral Research on Technology, discussed this at the Breitbart Masters of the Universe town hall, stating, "If Breitbart published a nice sarcastic satirical piece, brilliantly written, wouldn't that look like a fake news story? On the surface, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it get automatically censored because the algorithms, and for that matter, the people who are making these decisions, they would look at something that he just said, point to Marlowe, as some that's false, invalid, unreasonable, right? And then we get censored." So, yeah, that's the danger with using algorithms to censor your news. If it doesn't understand sarcasm, it's hard enough to read sarcasm in text sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you have to use all kinds of emojis for that, and it can be painful.
For who? The one that's doing the emojis, or the ones that has to look at them?
Have you ever gotten an emoji cramp? It hurts. I'm telling you. I know these.
You're talking about your emoji finger, right? It's like the emoji trigger finger thing?
Yeah, it's kind of the same as my driving finger, but we won't go there.
Okay. Autocomplete suggestions. This is number 4 of the ways that the tech giants are trying to put you into an echo chamber. Further research from Dr. Epstein showed that Google appeared to favor positive autocomplete research results relating to Hillary Clinton during the 2016 election, even when search terms critical of Clinton were actually more popular at the time. Epstein's report revealed that Google manipulated search results related to Hillary Clinton during the 2016 election that had the potential to shift as many as 3 million votes. So everybody's using like Google as a search engine, and then if you're on Google and you have those autocomplete things come up there, then you just hit the enter button, and then whatever's on the top is going to get searched for, and those results are also manipulated so that all the stuff that's favorable to Clinton would come to the top. So you gotta, if you can control the information flow, then you're controlling the values and the culture, but basically you're controlling what people believe to be true, and of course they're going to react.
Yes.
So number 5 here, cutting off ad revenue to sites Google disagree with ideologically. So this is something that we've had the YouTube, I can't, what they call it, the adpocalypse or something like that. So,
the AdSense, we had that happen to our site.
And on, but even on like a lot of YouTubers that leaned right were, they were, all their videos were being flagged as being hate speech or something like that. Just if it, if you said anything critical of Islam, for example, then that would constitute hate speech, and then you'd get your video demonetized and you couldn't make any money. And so it's one way of, one thing that it does to a conservative citizen journalist is that demoralizes you because nobody ever sees your work. And in addition to that, you don't have any income, so you don't have enough profits to justify putting the time and energy into creating this stuff for people. So you have to work a day job, basically, or maybe multiple jobs to try to, earn a living. And so by cutting off the ad revenue, then Google would a couple different ways that it affects you psychologically and financially to disincentivize conservatives from having a voice. But, I think that's kind of old news really for us, but that's a Breitbart article on that. There's one more story I wanted to look at. It's the Florence thing. That's before we get into the spider, but this is that map of what the Hurricane Florence, I guess now Tropical Storm Florence, is doing. This map has it listed as started near Senegal, and I'm wondering about, they have this law against weather modification, and if it weren't possible to actually modify the weather, then why would they need that law? So I'm assuming that technology does exist. And so could it be possible that maybe one group of people tried to modify the weather in order to create the hurricane, or at least intensify it, and then maybe another group of people used the same kind of technology to kind of disperse that energy? You think that's possible?
Yes.
Anything. And I mean that.
With the HARP program, and there's another program out there too. Between the two of them, that's very possible.
So what happens to the weather when you get like these multiple organizations trying to manipulate the weather? It becomes kind of unpredictable, I would think. You don't know what it's going to do. We had that, there's that other article about, okay, no, I don't know. Let's see, what was it called? Trying to think here. I think it was. Shoot. There was some kind of thought experiment. No, it wasn't. It was some kind of study about hurricane. You guys know what I'm talking about? This the thing that they anticipated, the hurricane, the effects of it.
The models, the string models,
or
they're hurricane models. Yeah, the one that was supposed to go for that area.
Yeah,
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, they predicted it. I mean, they had a study. I can't remember the name of it. Was it on Zero Hedge, maybe?
Yeah, I do believe it was.
Yeah, they can. The Gunkling and Palin's on and saying that yes, they can intensify it and steer it because they have the portable HARP units, both land and sea.
Portable HARP unit. I hadn't heard that.
You ever see Twister? Come on.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
But that's to study the hurricane, not to cause it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, got it.
Okay, well, all you have to do is watch those tornado chasers. They've got all kinds of stuff. Some of them, it makes you wonder what they've got in the back of those vans.
Yeah.
Really?
Ice cream.
Oh, I wish, right?
Don't you hear that song when the tornado's coming?
La Cucaracha?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, we're just going to look straight on Zero Hedge website. Let's see if we can find this. The record 7 named storms are swirling across the globe. Huh. Wow, that's kind of... Well, in a minute. I'll get back to that. I was wanting to find...
That's right, including a super typhoon.
Yeah, in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, yeah. Yeah. You may have to go down towards the bottom for it because I think it was yesterday they posted that article.
Looking. I'm not sure. I wish I could find it, but maybe we're going to have to.
Yeah, the other program is a CERN program, actually.
Tactics of subversive globalism. Sounds fun. Psychological manipulation sounds like the kind of thing that we're into.
Oh, Gun-Clinging Palin. Got a nice link here, but it is YouTube. He says the hurricane starts itself. Jim Lee posted an excellent article today on NEXRAD radars being used to steer Hurricane Florence. He's got the link in chat there.
Interesting. Well,
yeah, a lot of the geniuses will come out of the CERN program.
Yeah, there's sources out there if you want to study, you want to delve deeply into that one, the weather modification stuff along the lines of the directed energy weapons, all those things that are supposed to be secret, but like, are those fires in California really accidental or?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen articles on those that it was directional weapons, I do believe.
Directed energy weapons. The way that works. Yeah, and we saw that Tesla thing is like, that might have been something that Tesla had envisioned way back when, and that's probably the same thing that Reagan was talking about when he was talking about the Star Wars program. But
Brain, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Am I crazy? Is this like literally holding magnifying glasses on ants? Or is it totally different?
What it is you basically, okay, you have you start, this I may be wrong, but this is my understanding of it right now. But I guess you're using a certain color of laser that you shoot through the atmosphere, and the laser is intense enough that it actually turns the atmosphere into plasma. That plasma then becomes conductive, so that you can direct electrical energy down in that plasma beam, and whatever you're aiming the laser at now becomes nuked. It's basically like not nuked in a nuclear power sense, but in the microwave oven sense.
Microwave?
Yeah, you
it's
can,
like a Fresnel lens.
Yeah, you can microwave an object from a distance. You know, you can basically pop your popcorn face.
So,
you know?
Oh, real genius. That was a good movie. That's what they did.
Yes. In the house full of popcorn.
They were trying to tell us.
Oh, yep, that's right. You know, it makes you wonder, back to Tesla, you know, with all of his papers being stolen the day he died. It makes you wonder who's got those papers and what was in there, and what's being used against us. How much of this is Tesla's technology?
Well, then there's somebody that was saying Elon Musk is the Edison of our times, and it's like, well, who exactly was Edison? He's the guy that stole all the innovation from Tesla, so that might actually be true. You know, he stole all of his ideas from Tesla. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that is an appropriate way of describing him. Understanding the tactics of subversive globalism. This was Thursday, 9/13, yesterday. These guys put out a lot of articles of all that. When the ideology of globalism is discussed in liberty movement circles, there are often misunderstandings as to the source of the threat and what it truly represents. This may, in some cases, be by design or disinformation, infiltration. In the latest era of supposed populism led by figures like Donald Trump, an entirely new and very green generation of liberty activists find themselves hyper-focused on the political left in general, but they seem to be obsessed with attacking the symptoms of globalism rather than the source. I attribute this to a clever propaganda campaign by globalist institutions. For example, when globalism is brought up in terms of its conspiratorial influences, the name of George Soros is usually mentioned. Soros is an obvious boogeyman for liberty activists because his money can be found flowing to numerous cultural Marxist social justice organizations. His influence is easily grasped and digested in that way. Conservatives like placing emphasis on Soros because he appears decidedly leftist, and thus globalism becomes synonymous with leftist movements. But what about all the globalists? Right. Globalism has its gatekeepers in both political camps, people that manipulate or outright control political leaders and political messages on the right, just as they do the left. When someone like George Soros acts as a gatekeeper for the left, we also have people like Henry Kissinger, a globalist gatekeeper for the right. Kissinger's close relations with the Trump administration or his longtime friendship with Russia's Vladimir Putin are brought up far less in the liberty movement these days. Why? Because this does not fit with the false narrative that globalists are targeting Trump or Putin. Wait a minute. What's this? We did that one. And this, we did this. Yeah, we did this. The hurricane looks for spider. So this is our artificial intelligence gathering the headlines from all over these news sources. And I got the first story is going to be Florence. I don't know if there's anything new there. It is downgraded to a tropical storm now. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's less dangerous, but still dangerous.
You're still going to need a rubber raft to navigate it, but you're doing good.
Yeah, we want to get that raft out so you can go fishing.
That's right.
But, you know, I mean, why? Is it an opportunity for? I mean, is it a crisis or an opportunity?
I would think so. It would be just an opportunity to go fishing from your front porch.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I wonder if the fish are biting during. Probably not. All those other little. I mean, just like a flood, you know, in the river or something like that. All those other critters that. Oh, might be bad news for fishermen.
That would be sad, though.
Oh, this one, the Manafort. That story is actually essentially used because they've got this. Let's look at Mother Jones just for the extreme opposite.
Just for kicks and giggles.
So Paul Manafort will give Robert Mueller complete cooperation. Okay, by the time Paul Manafort entered a packed courtroom on the second floor of the E. Barrett Prettyman U.S. Courthouse in Washington around 11 a.m. on Friday, everyone knew he was going to plead guilty and fess up to engaging in money laundering, undisclosed lobbying, and assorted other crimes. The question was whether the former Trump campaign chairman had flipped, offering to cooperate with special counsel Robert Mueller's ongoing. President Donald Trump, who has described cooperating witnesses as rats, has praised Manafort refusing to aid Mueller's probe and openly dangled the prospect of pardoning Manafort. Defendants often plead guilty to avoid the added expense of trial without a separate deal to cooperate. Just last month, Manafort's lawyer said there was no chance his client would assist Mueller. Reports on Thursday suggested Manafort agreed to a plea, but may have drawn a line at cooperating against Trump. So,
Oh, it's wrongful prosecution.
Well, remember the psychological operations goes both ways. So you got the bad guys using this technology, and the good guys are too, and using the mainstream media against them. So you got somebody like this Mother Jones here. They're probably taking the bait. They're thinking, oh, now that Manafort's going to be testifying for this Russian collusion, then obviously this is going to be bad for Trump, unless. If Mueller really is investigating Russian collusion and it turns out that it's not Trump that's guilty of collusion, but actually someone else, say Hillary Clinton and the Uranium One deal.
You think?
Well,
yes.
these all these charges that are being brought up against Manafort are from like 12 years ago. What does that got to do with President Trump? So what sense or what
if they're that long ago, I would think that the statute of limitations would have run out a long time ago, because usually it's only 7 years or less.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be in this case, but my point with it is that if he has some kind of testimony that could be useful in this Russia thing, and it was from 12 years ago, then it's probably not the current administration that he's going to have information about. That's all I'm saying.
True. That's true.
Uh-huh.
That would be interesting.
You're a wily one, Brain.
Hey, we're just playing
Because part of those charges of whenever he was doing bidding on the part of what you that effect.
Can you say that again? I didn't quite hear you.
Aren't part of the charges whenever he was working as a foreign agent for Ukraine?
Oh, that's right.
That's Soros.
Yeah.
Soros was involved in helping overturn that government.
But see, I thought that Mueller was involved in there somewhere, so that's where it's not really clear to me how he's not recusing himself. Because if he is going back that far and using Manafort's testimony, then why is how is he not?
Right, and that doesn't make sense to me either. I'm surprised that Mueller is even leading this investigation. Considering
all of
his
them
background.
Are conflicted.
Exactly.
All of them are conflicted.
Yeah.
Mueller, Rosenstein,
Where's Mueller's day off?
Yeah.
There you go.
They're all.
I thought you were trying to sell us chicken again.
Chicken?
I cooked chicken for
supper.
Eat chicken. Eat
no. That was
chicken.
pizza. That was pizza.
Eat pizza.
I haven't had dinner yet. Thank you.
Oh. I cooked barbecue chicken legs on a grill. Good.
Shh. Be nice to me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So there's other ways that we can interpret this stuff, but we don't know what. I mean, the big players here, they're operating at a higher level. That's really all I want to get across with this. They're operating at a higher level. You don't know what their real agendas are. No matter what details leak out at this stage, we don't really know what that means. Because there's too many possible ways of going with that.
Yeah, there is, but it's kind of frustrating because we know that Mueller's he's not a saint either, and it's frustrating seeing someone that's as dirty as Mueller leading this.
Well, that brings up the bit about the FISA warrant, the memo thingy, because if the president comes out and declassifies the FISA memo and all those documents that were used to originally get the FISA warrant, then some of the people that are on there, like I think it was Rosenstein that had his signature on the 4th renewal of that warrant, then Rosenstein himself is going to be
he's going to be in deep water,
right? But
hot water,
yeah. And so anybody under his charge, which would include Mueller, that's going to be called into question, right?
Right, and could be implicated. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, this disinformation thing is it's in other words, it's going on. I mean, we're playing psychological warfare with the hearts and minds of America, and it's not just the bad guys that are doing it. The good guys are doing it too. They're both playing psychological warfare. It's a psychological operation. This is the main game that we're engaged in, psychological warfare through the control of information. And when that information comes out and how it is used, all that stuff determines the will of the people and who they're going to support at any given point. And they have to time this just right. So just before the midterms, then everybody's feeling a certain way, and they're going to vote a certain way because they have poor memories, maybe. Like whatever they're feeling at the moment is how they're going to vote. So in order to win the midterms, they have to have that just before the midterms. So then we have to have this vital information come. Got to tie the pieces.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a story here. Trump readies tariffs on $200 billion more in Chinese goods. So, is that interesting? Super typhoon makes landfall in the Philippines. Oh, we kind of talked about that.
Actually, I kind of thought that was interesting because you know what? That's just going to move up your prices at Walmart.
Wally World.
Wally World, exactly.
They said though there's like seven different storms that have hit Philippines this year. Philippines is getting pummeled.
The Philippines has been pounded this year. Again, we're back to the wondering if there's weather manipulation going on here, and why are the Philippines getting hit?
Yeah, why would they target the Philippines? What is it about the Philippines? I know that there is some fairly large concentrations of Muslim population, but there's also many others.
I thought the same thing. I wondered if it was.
Yeah, I don't know. There's also a lot of Catholics there. So,
do they swim?
Do what?
Just a question.
Do they swim?
Do they swim?
I would imagine so.
Just asking. Might want to take a swimming class.
Got a map to going towards the Philippines.
Or at least invest in a nice life jacket. I'm just saying.
I hit. I was in.
Do goats float? Oh, was that too far? I'm sorry. Wow. Oh, yeah, I forgot we were online. I'm so sorry. Delete. Wow.
Some people's kids know about this.
That was a. Do they call that a faux pas, or is that a? Okay.
I don't even know what you're saying there, but
Friday TGIF.
Oh yeah.
I forgot.
I was in when I was in the Navy. I went by the Manila. That's a congested city. Their driving is what really hit me the hardest. I mean, in terms of like the impression that it made on me is like they just have crazy drivers. They're like 5 lanes going in the same direction, but there's more than 5 lanes of cars. I mean, even though there's like 5 lanes on the pavement, there should be 5 lanes of cars, but there's actually more like 8 or 9. And they're all crowded together. Beep 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 beep. Everybody's honking their horns and trying. They are kind of.
It's called that Asian driving, and they're very proud that they're Asian drivers.
They're very aggressive. They just beat their horn and push them their way into the crowd.
Yeah, they do that in Japan too. In Japan, it's kind of more like it's like watching a ballet with cars. It's like, how did they do that? It's an interesting thing, but the Philippines and China's bad too.
Well, it made me nervous.
Have you guys ever watched the Russian dash cams?
Oh, I love them.
My brother turned me on to them, and it's hours of entertainment. Oh my God! And it's all real. It's all actual dash cam footage.
Cars up and flip clear across the freeway.
Oh, they just run over people.
Oh yeah. No problem. No questions asked. That's it.
Oh, crazy. Anyway. Yeah, look that up sometime. Russian dash cams. Oh, you can't ever watch it enough. I mean, it wow.
And you watch them over and over and over.
Yes, and it makes you glad to be an American.
I'm proud to be an American.
Or at least I won't get
American.
Killed.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I was in one
Well,
of
I
those
don't know.
jeepneys
We've
over
got
there.
Antifa
You know
now.
what a jeepney is? Bandit? Did you ever make it over to the Philippines?
No, the closest I came was Okinawa. Guam, Saipan, Okinawa. I don't know how close that was to any of those to Philippines.
They got
without
these.
having a
They
world
got
map.
these things they call jeepneys, right? And they're like a kind of like a pickup truck, but the bed is just kind of lowered a little bit. It's got like a step up ladder that gets into it, and it's their
Oh,
version.
and you're
of
sitting backwards.
Well, yeah, it's like their version of a taxi, but they have a roof over the back end of the pickup, and then they have benches along the sides there. You climb up like a mini bus or whatever. And so you pay your fare as you get in, and then you just jump. You ride it until it's that you want to get off, and you just kind of jump. They don't really stop, so you just have to jump off when it's time when you get close to where you want to go.
Oh my gosh.
But you're riding around in one of these jeepneys, and they have this traffic congestion like just nuts. And you're really scared that you're going to get flipped over or something because and they take great pride in like the way they decorate these things. So they have really elaborate.
Like
I
dingleberries
think I've
hanging
seen
from
those
everything.
on Expedition Unknown or something like that. They're very amazing looking.
And they're usually like a metallic green with all kinds of lights.
Yeah, they really outdo each other.
Yeah.
And then they have the little mopeds with sidecars. Those are kind of fun.
Oh, now there's something I wouldn't mind riding as a sidecar, but I'd probably get killed.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a sidecar. You have absolutely no control over what's happened to you, and these guys are they're crazy, man. They're just driving all over. I mean, I don't know. I suppose I should trust them more than myself in that situation because they're used to it. Anyway, Zero Hedge article. Pompeo tears into John Kerry over Iran meetings. Unheard of level of undermining the White House. Secretary of State Pompeo slammed John Kerry over the letter's admission earlier this week that he met with top Iranian officials 3 or 4 times since Trump took office. Pompeo called Kerry's meetings, which took place outside of authorized diplomatic channels and without White House knowledge, unseemly and unprecedented, and further described the former Obama Secretary of State's action as beyond inappropriate. Statements made today at a State Department press briefing. So that was see what Trump's. John Kerry had illegal meetings with the very hostile Iranian regime, which can only serve to undercut our great work to the detriment of the American people. He told them to wait out the Trump administration. Was he registered under the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
Yeah, one of the same thing that Manafort's getting charged with.
Yeah, but Iran is, the ties to the CIA, and they got those. At least rumor has it that Iran has nuclear capabilities as a result of Uranium One, most likely, and all the things that Obama did to make sure they had the technology to build those things.
Yeah.
So I think everybody in the world is sitting around talking about waiting out President Trump, Kerry said. You've got our allies, and remarkably, the people that we've worked with the closest through the years who are sitting there saying, what's next? So this also reminds me of the fact that former President Obama was running around, chasing President Trump. Whenever Trump would go meet with somebody, Obama would come in and try to muddy the waters. That can't be legal. Can't be.
No, it can't be. I'm surprised that Obama's gotten away with what he has.
Well, I think Obama is actually more guilty than we know of in terms of the stuff he's done since his presidency. I think he's been kind of leading the charge from behind the scenes. I don't think he's...
Oh, I'm sure that little cheese weenie has done more than enough to get him a noose hanging around his neck.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, so much of this, we just have to wait and see what happens. But even then, we don't know that we will see what happens, because, I mean, will we...
That's what frustrates me is when will we know everything that they did? How much did they really undermine this country? How much damage have they done? And is it reparable?
And so, like with McCain, I mean, is there some reason why we're not hearing all the stuff that he did? I mean, Did he
Oh,
strike
I'm
some kind of
sure.
deal to protect his legacy so that some of that stuff remains classified?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, but how? Okay, explain to me how any of this works as far as like gag orders and stuff. If it's illegal, it's illegal, especially if it's traitorous towards the country.
And it
How
should be open. It should be open to all of us. It doesn't matter.
In
That's
discovery.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. And how, and especially after the man dies, I mean, I'm sorry, it's open now. Whatever he did needs to come out. And especially if
Amen.
it's traitorous to this country. I don't get,
Mm-hmm.
not unless, okay, and maybe we're not seeing the big picture. Obviously, we're not on some things. Maybe they made a deal with him and he turned on some people. Maybe he
That's what I'm
said,
thinking.
I'll off myself, get out of your hair, make it look like I'm okay. Don't come out and tell them I'm a part of all this, but you got to get this guy and this guy and this girl and this girl, and they did this and that did that, and that's all I'm telling you.
He probably gave him a lot of proof,
Oh, I hope
and
so.
maybe that's why some of these people aren't able to say.
Well, yes. So if he ended up singing in part of this deal to protect his legacy, maybe he's getting maybe other people are being implicated in their crimes, and that would be worth it for us to make some kind of deal to protect his legacy. Right? I mean,
yeah. The government's done worse. So yeah.
Well,
yeah, you're right.
Colleen Allen saying that it could be incalculable damage.
Yes.
It's, and she's right on that. How much damage have they? This is just it's just amazing. It's just the surface of what we're seeing that's coming out.
So imagine this scenario where the good guys made a deal with McCain to say that we're going to go ahead and try to protect your legacy if you give us some dirt on XYZ people. And so we made that deal, and then he dies. So maybe the good guys might not be quite so, I don't know, rigorous with their security on those details, so that they wouldn't necessarily.
That's true. Yes.
They wouldn't necessarily release this information, but they wouldn't necessarily guard it so strictly either. So some tenacious citizen journalists might stumble upon some information that could, be helpful for learning these.
That's very true. Yes. Because we had those contractors, that were working for Booz Howell, and
that's
they
right.
were involved. They were doing foreign spying for the U.S. government, and that particular retired Navy officer is the one who had 50 terabytes, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Right.
Worth of CDs and paperwork, top secret paperwork thrown in the back of the seat of, and all throughout his home, and
and heavens knows where else. Heavens knows where else.
Oh Lord, yeah. Yep. So those things happen.
Looks like we got Volk in the house. Are you available for comment, sir?
Hi, I made it. I actually am not sure what we're talking about.
Oh, we're talking about the news. Bad guys. We were talking about McCain a second ago. Maybe he made some deals. You think he made some deals?
Exactly.
Maybe a couple.
Maybe.
It's funny because there's been someone laid on a conspiracy theory my way, and it's funny even with everything I've heard. Sometimes I know, right? Sometimes I'm still like, oh, that's nonsense, right? And the more I thought about it, and then other people are starting to catch on. So there's this idea that McCain's not actually dead. No one
really.
No one saw a body. It was a closed casket. But the connection, the reason, so what I needed was a reason. I'm like, okay, why would you go to all this trouble? And the reason is that he's actually he's exposed. He's being exposed as being involved with the Trump dossier. He was kind of like the guy that got that ball rolling. So, of course, he would need to disappear.
The traitor himself. There
was never any scars, or maybe there was some like terrible scars and his boot was always on the wrong foot. I don't know. There's a few details around that leads me to believe that maybe he's actually in a safe haven somewhere.
Now we did hear. Can I say this group?
Yeah.
Can I
I'm still
tell
thinking
him
about the wax museum?
We heard from Dr. Corsi that he actually didn't have brain cancer.
Okay.
That he actually was getting Alzheimer's, dementia.
I see. Well, he was. There were a few of those episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the last, not confirmed rumor, but pretty heavily, based rumor.
Yeah, that's just interesting possibilities.
Indeed. I generally kind of have the Sherlock Holmes approach where I have sort of a few running scenarios in my head of probability scenarios, and then at some point when he's confirmed one way or the other, then a lot of them get eliminated. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah.
Check out the wax museum.
You're just looking for some.
Right.
Yeah, look, you have a couple hypotheses that you form, and then try to figure out which is the most probable case and look for evidence for that. Yeah, that's the scientific method. And I mean, that's.
Yep.
And so many people are afraid of the word speculation, but what do you think an hypothesis is? When you're making a hypothesis, you're trying to deduce what you can figure out from the given data, and then look for more data. Try to, that's how you learn.
Exactly.
So. We're going back to Spider. I don't know if you guys. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Spider. It's a AI generated news aggregator because it just takes these RSS feeds from the major news sources and it ranks them and thematizes them just by different stories, so you can tell what are the hottest stories and stuff like that.
Brain. Before we get to that, I have to ask Volk something.
Okay.
Go for it.
Is that all right? Okay, so Volk, the hole in the space station. I knew that you had said it was drilled from the inside. My question was, which side, as in which country, did it?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I found it interesting that, at least from the article I posted.
Do you have a link to this article thing? That
it's in our little group. I posted in our little group section. Yeah.
Hold on, I'll find it. Okay. Or can he find it?
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Okay.
Well, at any rate, it seems that this information is coming from the Russians, but it is being confirmed by the U.S. So it's interesting that relationship is interesting. Now, I skimmed it, so I've been known to be wrong. So if you find some detail in there that I missed, please send me away.
Well, no, that's fine.
I hope that answers your question.
Well, yes and no. I mean, which country do you think?
Who did it?
Yeah, right. I understand that. Yeah.
So let me ask you, who am I speaking with, by the way?
This is Bandit.
Okay, so Bandit, let me ask you. So I don't know if you know off the top of your head, maybe the group, but what countries are represented up there right now? We obviously got Russia and the U.S.
China.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Oh my gosh. Who else? Anybody? I bet we can Google it, huh?
Japan there?
I think they might be.
Okay, yeah. I got the article up now.
Okay.
To see. International Space Station.
Faster? Who's faster with their fingers?
International Space Station leak. NASA and Russia remain tight-lipped over findings. This is from Express, home of the Daily and Sunday. NASA and Russia are remaining tight-lipped on their preliminary findings of what caused the leak in the International Space Station late August.
Late August, okay.
So August 29.
The reason why I posted it to the group section wasn't necessarily in and of itself, but because it actually relates to another incident that happened in New Mexico, in which I guess the FBI and some other folks went into an observatory and evacuated it and shut it down. So, it's really
I saw that today.
So we got two circumstances that are tight-lipped.
I saw that today. I saw that a while ago.
And did you read into that story and see that there's A, black helicopters floating around now, B, they've also shut down the local post office and something
in New
else.
Mexico. In New
Yes.
Mexico?
Yes.
Really?
That's right. They did
And-
shut down the post office. That's right.
Yes, and that there was also two large celestial bodies that went between the Earth and the Sun, about the moon size. One of them was about the size of the moon, and then the other one was a little bit smaller. All this happened, and then the space station gets a hole in it. Okay, on the space station is Canada, Japan, Russia, United States, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany.
My Canadians did it. They seem like they're nice with their maple syrup, but I'm saying
Oh my
Canadians
goodness.
did it.
Okay, hold on. I wonder how many are up there at the same time. Because,
Yeah, I think there's only about 8 people up there.
Right, because we're going Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, United Kingdom. Those are all the countries.
Many of those have fallen. Yeah, many of them have fallen under NATO.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you mentioned the Canadian, because one of the particular groups I follow is the American intelligence media, and as we may or may not see starting to filter through the media, we're actually starting to understand that it was actually the British government that was behind the Russia Trump conspiracy and trying to overthrow the connection. And obviously, here's Canada, and Trudeau is pledging his loyalty to the Queen. So Canada is not our friend.
No, they haven't been our friend for a long time.
Actually, right now, we skipped over a story today on Dr. Corsi, on Corsi Nation, about Canada. They were getting ready for America to declare martial law. Is that how I read that?
Was that was that Infowars? Can't remember what the source was.
I think it was.
I'll find it here in a second.
I'm so out of the Infowars loop.
Well, it's just a story on Infowars. It's not about Infowars.
I have to go to the website now. It's just, got to remember.
Oh, my goodness. We've got so much stuff up here now that I don't know where to look.
Let's do a search. Where it doesn't have a search thing. It used to be a thing where you could have a search bar on every website.
I do. I've got a search from the. Okay, hold on here. Canada and martial law. Law. Okay, that didn't get me anywhere.
Oh, I'm going to put this one up there later too. EU legislate internet death. That's about the EU making memes illegal.
Right.
Oh my gosh!
It's like
really are.
Yeah.
Well, technically, it's a meme tax. So if you post the meme without the tax, then you're in violation of Title 13.
If you don't take content down off of websites that you host, you can get fined for it. What's wrong with these people?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize it was backwards compatible. What's the term I'm looking for? Retroactive. Okay. Figures. Good job, Europe.
Like a rocket.
Those elected leaders sure came through, didn't they?
There we go.
Oh my gosh.
This is the one. I got the article up now. Why is Canada preparing I forgot a word there. Preparing for martial law? Trudeau could be getting ready for something big. So this is Millie Weaver's. Must be just a video thing.
Are you guys familiar with the recent executive order that Trump signed in the last few days?
Yes.
I'm wondering if that's what they're referring to, because technically we are under a state of emergency at this point.
Yeah, and it's censorship and propaganda is included with the whole thing with disinformation.
Cool.
So
I haven't actually seen the executive order yet, so I'm still kind of just hearing about
it's nice.
Brain read it last night, just about
cool.
all
Yeah,
of it.
it was great. It was really wonderful.
Is it recorded on a previous episode?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah,
yesterday's.
Okay, do that. Thank you.
So, yeah, the EU legislates internet death. Europe following China on path to internet destruction. EU Parliament recently put the internet, at least in Europe, on a path towards corporate. I guess we have to watch the videos where they don't actually have text.
Yeah, one of the Google big shots actually quit over Google teaming up with Communist China and their tactics. They quit.
A scientist. Yeah, one of their scientists.
Google scientists. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So here we go. We got this is MRC TV. EU passes meme ban law, angers conservative grassroots and liberal tech. This originally was a Wired magazine article. So this is September 14th. The European Parliament, famous for its legislative overreach and bureaucracy, has passed Articles 11 and 13, part of a new copyright directive popularly dubbed the War on Memes, which will now go to a final vote in January. Issue has made for unusual allies against strange enemies, with everything from tech giants like World Wide Web inventor Sir Tim Berners-Lee and media founder Jimmy Wales, ranging to right-wing grassroots YouTubers joining against the legislation, pitted against musicians, authors, and artists, usually an outspoken force against a restriction of free expression, who sided with the EU government and spoke out in favor of restrictive copyright legislation. Article 13 specifically would require tech giants to filter copyrighted material such as songs, images, and videos uploaded on their platforms unless they were given directly licensed permission to do so. This would range from memes using stock photography to music videos, remixes, and more. Despite the massive controversy, this bill managed to pass by 438 votes to 206 with 39 abstentions. Red herring summarized.
I want to know how they're going to enforce it. I really do, because I'm going to get that piece of paper and dump it in the garbage, but that's me.
Well, I don't think it's actually. I mean, they got the vote that's coming in January, so I don't know. I don't know how much of it.
Yeah, it's not official legislation yet. It's passed. I'm not familiar with the entire process, but the actual final confirmation is going to happen in January. So, plenty of time to raise some heck.
Right. Well, but like I said, how are they going to enforce it? Because most of us are going to just sit there and laugh at it and say, "Yeah, whatever."
So I'm still learning a bit about it, but my understanding is that it's essentially going to focus. Well, primarily, I think it's focusing on the social media companies, which, by the way, have not made any sort of statement about this at all, which somebody pointed out and I found rather interesting. Not one peep. One way or the other. You'd think they'd have a comment.
Oh yeah.
Or not. So I find that very interesting. Almost it seems that this is something that the direction they're really happy to go in. But I think that's going to be the primary mechanism. So they'll just have, the social media companies will hire Anita Sarkeesian-esque groups to police, the Brits and the Germans and that's probably already happening, but another level, I guess.
Ridiculous.
And then obviously, once it's a criminal element, then they can actually send the police. So for us over here in the U.S., I think the biggest issue is that we're going to have another sort of flavor of censorship coming from Europe, and it might interfere with us getting some of the news from over there, and for them getting some of our stuff. Yeah.
So they're just basically, this is just their way of slowly shutting down the internet and trying to put that genie back in the bottle.
I think so.
Oh boy, check this one out. We got AlterNet. That's another one of those extreme lefty sites. Facebook's pathetic attempts to appease conservatives is backfiring spectacularly and could harm progressive news sources. What do you achieve?
Oh dear.
Yeah, what do you achieve when you let the Weekly Standard operate as a fact checker for one of the internet's most powerful platforms? You won't see that. When Facebook selected the right-wing Iraq war-boosting magazine The Weekly Standard as an official fact-checking partner last year as part of its effort to combat misinformation, progressives warned that the conservative publication would use its power to suppress accurate articles published by center-left and left-wing. That's precisely what happened. So after Think Progress published an article by Ian Millhiser last week arguing that Supreme Court pick Brett Kavanaugh's comments during the Senate confirmation hearing, combined with a speech he gave in 2017, eliminates any doubt that the judge opposes the Supreme Court's decision in Roe v. Wade, the Weekly Standard deemed the article false. A designation that, given Facebook's rules and the platform's enormous power, cuts off 80% of the piece's future traffic and penalizes other pages that dare to post the article. Expressing the opposition to Facebook's decision to hand the factually challenged Weekly Standard the power. That's, what's his name? Bill Kristol, right? Bill Kristol is the Weekly Standard. No idea. He's a neocon in big way. He's probably like one of the biggest neocons because his dad was really big into the whole neocon movement. They started out as Trotskyites. So I mean, neocons are seriously not right wing. They're Trotskyites. They're Marxist under a different. They're not a typical Marxist, but they are Marxist.
I just go with traitor.
Yeah,
it works for me. Is
Hang
that
him
Crystal
up.
with a K? Crystal with a K?
Kristol.
Okay.
Believe.
Good to know. Thanks for that.
I am going to read a link that I shared the other day that we never got to on Corsi Nation. But we were talking about China, and we're talking about...
you put it in broadcasting?
Yes, I can do that. Well, yeah, hold on one second here. No, it won't let me. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to have to copy and paste it, right? It's not letting me. Remember, I'm on a tablet here. When I share these with oh my goodness, it's not letting me. When I share these with news topics, I can copy the link and then put it in news topics, and it's not a big deal. But now that I've shared it here, it won't let me share it again.
So it's in news topics now?
Yes, it is. And the picture is the Chinese leader standing in front of the Chinese flag, and it's quite a ways up. I mean, quite a ways up. Skim through, you'll find it here. It's from September 12th, 2018, 5 a.m. Now, the bad part is now that I've opened and closed it so many times, it's not opening all the way for me. There we go. China's social credit system, which will assign every person a constantly updated score based on observed behaviors, is designed to control conduct by giving the ruling Communist Party the ability to administer punishments and hand out rewards. The former deputy director of the state's Council Development Research Center says the system should be administered so that discredited people become bankrupt. Officials prevented Liu Hu, a journalist, from taking a flight because he had a low score. According to the Communist Party-controlled Global Times, as of the end of April 2018, authorities had blocked individuals from taking 11.14 million flights and 4.25 million high-speed rail trips. Chinese officials are using the lists for determining more than just access to planes and trains. I can't buy property. My child can't go to a private school, Liu said. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. Chinese leaders have long been obsessed with what Jiang Zemin in 1995 called informationization, automation, and intelligentization. And they are only getting started. Given the capabilities they are amassing, they could, the argument goes, make defiance virtually impossible. The question now is whether the increasingly defiant Chinese people will accept President Xi's all-encompassing vision. By 2020, Chinese officials plan to have about 626 million surveillance cameras operating throughout the country. 626 million surveillance cameras operating throughout the country. Those cameras will, among other things, feed information into a national social credit system. That system, when it is in place, in perhaps 2 years, will assign to every person in China a constantly updated score based on observed behaviors. For example, an instance of jaywalking caught by one of those cameras will result in a reduction in score. Although officials might hope to reduce jaywalking, they seem to have far more sinister ambitions, such as ensuring conformity to Communist Party political demands. In short, the government looks as if it is determined to create what economists called the world's first digital totalitarian state.
Yeah, Marco didn't actually address that.
Wow, it's a long article.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. That is crazy. That is nuts.
Minority Report. Minority Report.
Or Big Brother. What was that? 1984?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's both of them.
I heard in there from this for me. I heard in there that this hasn't been put in place yet. This is a 2-year plan. Is that right? Okay.
They've tested it, I'm pretty sure.
I see. Well, that's a little reassuring because, see, I thought this was the rollout, but this isn't actually the rollout. This is whatever this is. So it's not fully rolled out yet. I just feel like it gives us time.
It's close enough that it's Orwellian.
Sure.
You know. It's
yeah. Well, in no way am I. I mean, but then just in terms of how do we all still have time to get out of the way?
Right.
How much time do we have to really make this up?
Well, on that note, let's look at this article. This is Breitbart article. It's about Michael Moore. He says, "I don't even know if we're going to get to 2020 as a democracy."
He's an idiot.
Yeah,
he is an idiot.
This is our last article for the evening, so we figured we should round it out with something funny. You know, like taking Michael Moore seriously. Let's see. Friday on ABC's The View, filmmaker Michael Moore said he didn't even know if we're going to get to 2020 as a democracy. Excuse me. When asked who he thinks could beat President Donald Trump in the next presidential election. It's the Trump party, right? Even John Boehner said that the Republican Party is dead. It's the Trump party. Let's start calling it what it is. Yeah, because we're getting rid of the neocons, so it's no longer... Yeah, so once you get rid of the neocons, then it really is Republicans. We're back to... Michael Moore is saying that John Boehner's version of the Republican Party isn't even Republican. They're neocons. Bush and Cheney and all those guys. They're the warmongers that want to play police state for the whole world. They want
another flavor of globalism.
Yeah, it's
sure.
So, I mean, they're the hawks, but they don't do it for what's truly in American interest. They do what they start wars for what's in the interest of the globalists. You know, read the international corporations and national bankers and stuff like that. That's who they're trying to help. Whereas the
money.
So, like a traditional Republican Party was isolationist. You know, way back it was. You know, we had ocean on each side, and then Canada. Who's afraid of Canada? You know? We didn't need to be in any wars. But then the neocons took over, and that was like started around the 1920s, but really built some steam up in the 40s. But so the neocons gradually built power in the GOP, and now because of Trump and what the globalists call populism, and even think of the terminology that they use, because if you're not a globalist, you must be a populist, which means for the people. Yes, we are populists, if that's what you want to call it. Because we don't want to serve the globalist thing. But so what is it we're going to call a democracy if the people actually have a voice, if the people actually decide who's our representatives? You know, that's a terrible thing from a globalist standpoint.
But it's not really, it's not a democracy, though. Isn't that what George Washington said? We were a republic?
Right. And I mean, if you look at it from the historical meanings of those terms, I mean, democracy was like ruled by the people, and monarchy was ruled by, you know, the single family that inherited power.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The republic is actually split in the difference, where you have a Senate, or the concept of a Roman Senate. So you have representatives. There's not a single person that's in charge, but neither is it reduced to the lowest common denominator like you get in a pure democracy. Because pure democracy, then it's just, I mean, it's too susceptible to fashions and fads. Yeah, fashions and fads. You know, people that don't really take the time to be educated on the issues and like that. So, Republican government is the least likely to be corruptible, and it's also the middle ground. So calling someone a extreme right winger would mean that they would be a monarchist, right? That's what like extreme left would be a Democrat, and extreme right would be a monarchist, someone who wants a king. Whereas the Republican is someone who wants people that are representing their interests. Right, that's what we have as a republic.
Right.
Yes.
So, anyway, we got. So this is all taking place on The View. I mean, even that, you know, it's like.
Yeah, well, that's an instant discount right there. But and then on top of that, Michael Moore, well, his mother, she loved him. You know.
He dropped him on his head.
Well, you know, I've got another saying for that, but I'll be nice tonight.
I'm gonna drop a quick. I don't know if you guys, since we're talking about Michael Moore, just a couple quick drops. Really great movie. Michael Moore Hates America. Excuse me, I'm in my car.
Oh, I saw that.
It's such a good movie. It's available on YouTube. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It really lays out the tactics he uses to make his message. And then another quick, interesting Michael Moore side note. Don't know if you guys are familiar with Thomas Paine, a true pundit.
He's great.
He actually did come forward and do his first interview, which is available online. And his name is also Michael Moore, which is why he goes by Thomas Paine. So,
no way, I didn't know that.
I saw that last week. I
really great interview with him. Yeah, he tells personal information about him and his family and his work. His work with, I believe, the FBI. But
it's with some government agency. Yeah,
they basically went after him for some things. He was a contractor. That's what he was saying. Mm-hmm.
And he got in trouble because he knew too much, and they didn't like it, so they went after him. And one morning they just tossed his home and everything. And so he's now in the process of writing a book that will be released relatively soon, detailing what he went through to stop the harassment. Evidently, this has been happening, it sounds like, since the 90s to him.
Yeah, there were at least 2 separate incidents that I was aware of, but I think in between there was definitely some stuff going on. So I just wanted to drop those 2 Michael Moore references for
cool.
Everybody.
Hey, well, thanks for stopping by, Volk. It's I hope you decide that you want to come back and do it again.
I'd like to. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
This secret squirrels thing, we're a little bit into spy stuff, but you know, we don't want to be real about it. You know, we just want to have fun. But, you know, we don't like real spies. We just like fictional spies. Anyway, we are Secret Squirrels, the Smart Conservatives Current Events Roundtable, and sometimes we delve into conspiracies and even occasionally some philosophical techniques, you know, because we want to support free speech and Western culture. So thank you for stopping by. And to help us out, we haven't been getting a whole lot of viewership, so if you do like this, please share it around, give it a thumbs up and all that stuff. This is Brainstorm. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks for coming, Volk.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone out there.
You girls have a good weekend.
Woohoo, it's the weekend.
Hi, y'all too.
I can't wait. It's the weekend. Yay. Bye-bye.
Yay.